Okay, so little tip. The best way in any fishery environment to combat weed in lakes less than say 5-6 acres, as long as they're predominantly quite shallow, is to have a healthy, that's the key word, fish population. Not just keep putting fish in and hope they'll be alright, because if you've got quite a lot of fish, which pretty much everybody has, you need to look after them, need to feed them. Basics, water quality basics. You can increase the nutrients, do a lot of planting to protect the banks, all that sort of thing. It's all common sense really, but a lot of places don't bother, and that's why they have problems. If you've got a healthy fish population, the water will be quite turbid, and you should obviously feed your fish as well. A lot of people don't feed them, and then they lose fish in the winter and summer, all year round. Some fisheries just seem to not really grasp the fact that fish are livestock. Supplementary feeding is something that I place a lot of importance on, and there's a big, like I say, there's a big difference between having a lake full of fish and a lake full of fish that are getting caught and that are in good condition. If you look at this lake, this is Abbey Lake. Dug this ourselves, it's just open, shallow. At the moment the plants look a bit naff because everything gets trimmed before the winter, so all the regrowth you can just see here comes up. But look at the colour of the water now, bearing in mind it's been like this all winter. There is a lot of fish in here, actually factual information, not, oh, you know, because every fishery I go to tells me they've got millions of fish. There's £3,500 weight of carp in this lake, which is just touching 3 acres. The reason that's sustainable is because it gets fed. We put over 100 kilos of rolled cereal in here every week, which anglers will think that's absolutely ridiculous, but if you do the maths, that's less than 1%, feeding less than 1%. There's also about £900 weight of decent silvers in here, plus other bits and pieces as well, tench, crusions. It does get a little bit of water as well, which doesn't hurt, which we can take on and off if we need to. But the bottom line is, there's a lot of fish in this lake, but they're all in very good condition, and that's simply because every year I net it, look at the fish, monitor the fish, take out the offspring, and obviously if you look after them and give them the food and the water quality's sound, they'll keep breeding. So you end up with this, no weed, absolutely no weed in any of our lakes, apart from Bishop's because there's only 40 fish in there, and you proper anglers on there trying to catch big fish, so they don't mind the weed. Actually, people like me quite like it. But yeah, easiest way to sort weed out: dyes, chemicals, pie in the sky theories and this, that and the other, just going to cost you a lot of money, and at the end of the day, from my experience, they don't work. Well, they don't work nearly as well as having a lot of fish, and at the end of the day, if you're trying to run a fishery, you kind of want a lot of fish. We've put not tons of fish in this lake, but we fed them, encouraged them to breed. Now there's tons of fish in this lake. So yeah, fairly straightforward, fairly simple, as is most fishery management. Just give you a bit of an idea. So if you're struggling with things like weed in lakes of less than sort of 5-6 acres, especially if you've got very small ponds, it's very easy to sort out. You do need fish, but it's no good just having fish. You've got to look after them, and if you feed them a fraction of what they need as the water warms up, they'll actually get caught more. They'll feed more, their recovery rate will improve. There's ways to do it, you know, and until you actually get to the bottom of it and drain your ponds and have a look at what you've got, it's very difficult to do it. You know, you're going to do it properly. But some people just continue to waste money, and it's very frustrating. I go out and get asked the same questions time and time again, and I bring people here and say, look, this is how we do it, and we never have a fish kill, never have any problems. And they're like, well, you must keep buying fish all the time. No, we don't. We never buy fish here. We just keep feeding them and cropping them and making money selling the offspring. And there's loads in here. You can see from the YouTube videos of the netting every year. It's ridiculous how many fish we've got. So that'll give you a rough idea, in a nutshell, how to look after your lake and stop the weed getting bad. Look, there's no weed at all. Loads of fish, no weed. Simple. This is Westminster Lakes, 4.5 acres, okay. 11 years ago now, when we first took the place over, didn't look nothing like this. It's March, so nothing's really growing up at the moment. Give it another month, it looks picture. There's a couple of hundreds, about 240, 250 carp in here. We're draining it completely in the past. I net it every year, obviously. You should always net your waters every year. Take the offspring out, have a good look at what's going on, rather than just letting anglers tell you what's in your lakes, which is unreliable at best. There's a few fish down here. Anyway, yeah, that shows you there's enough fish in here to keep the water coloured. Coloured water is good. Fish like it. Makes your average general angler stop moaning about weed. Makes it very easy for them to fish. Not really, you know, you can just chuck any old rig out here and it's on the bottom. There's no weed in here. Tiny bit of blanket weed in the summer when they start spawning because they stop feeding. But yeah, nice and coloured. And all there is a couple of hundred carp in 4.5 acres. A lot of people with 4.5, 5 acre lakes say they've got 800-900 fish, averaging 18-20 pounds. If you do the maths, a little bit of common sense, you realise that's not actually very possible if you're expecting them all to be putting on weight and surviving, growing, etc. Oh, there's a goosander there, look. See if we can get nearer. Yeah, so there you go, a couple of hundred fish in there. Again, these get fed. You know, we have anglers down, we're not open yet, open the 1st of April. We have anglers, they never put enough food in, not for the amount of fish you've got. It's not about, we're not trying to put loads of weight on them, we're trying to keep them in good condition. And yeah, we do sell a few, why not? You know, it's not all about anglers. You can run a fishery and having fishing lakes, I'd rather sell fish. But there's always tons of fish in here, just ask anyone who genuinely knows what we're doing down here. Loads of fish, easy, straightforward, nothing's complicated, it's all done easy. A few ton of chalk every year in here, bit of horse muck around the edges, bit of bankside maintenance. You can see, like even in the trees, there's absolutely no sticks, trees, anything in the water. So if you hook a fish out here, you've always got to cater for the wallies. We get some really good anglers down here, but obviously some sort of, you know, lesser sort of people. So yeah, just keep everything straightforward. But if you're going to have a high density of fish, for God's sake, feed them. If you don't feed them, and you're one of these people who thinks that all dead fish die, it's rubbish. They don't. They just die if you don't feed them eventually, long term. If they get caught and they're in poor condition, they go back in the lake, they might take ages to get back on the feed. It's just stress out. It's all common sense stuff, but it's just frustrating. I go to so many places and there's still, to this day, with the amount of free information and people like me offering information and help, still people out there who like struggle to get to grips with a fishery. It's, you know, it's not rocket science, people. It really isn't. There you go. So that's roughly getting on 4.5, 4 3/4 acre lake, and that's what we've got in there.